that thing called life. Hope you're having a fantastic morning this morning, and appreciate you being here as always on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of these Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal located for you on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. They're also with you on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners inside of their drive-through location. For those of you out of town, you can go to cafekubal.com. That's cafe, Kubal.com. We're happy to have you here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook.com, YouTube.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage where the live feed is embedded for MixLR, and on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. So however you're connecting with the show, thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We have an awesome show set up for you here today. Fantastic guests, and happy to have a guest joining the show for the first time ever. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', we'll start off the show with a video special with Levell Sanders. They have a game tonight. The Binghamton Bearcats men's basketball team will take on Maryland, the Terrapins of the Big Ten, tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And ahead of the game, we'll be talking with Levell Sanders about the team this season, his points of emphasis. Winning the first couple games is what he's taken away from the team early on. We'll also get his thoughts on playing New York-based schools and how important that is in and out of conference, as well as his friends, Adrian Autry and Alan Griffin, Syracuse Orange men's basketball alumni and current assistant coaches. We'll get his thoughts on how he would describe both of those gentlemen who have been on the show plenty of times, and I count them as friends as well. So Levell Sanders and I talk at all things Binghamton and more coming up in just a moment. Then we'll head into the Syracuse football realm, as I will be joined for the first time ever around 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time by Pat Davis, a tight end that was on Syracuse's team from 85 to 88, an NFL draft pick, and a member of that 87 undefeated team, will be joining the broadcast. Very excited to have him. And then at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time in hour number 2, we'll be joined by first-round NFL draft pick, Syracuse Orange football alum, and Super Bowl XXXVI, for those of you playing the home game, that is Super Bowl 36 champion Tebucky Jones will be joining the show. Drafted in the first round by the New England Patriots, won a Super Bowl with the Patriots. He'll be joining us at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll round out the show as we always do on a Tuesday with the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli. So with all of that being said, we got to take a quick step aside for a fast break, as Levell Sanders is coming up next on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. From inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, thank you for being with us today.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, as well as on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-through location. You know that we keep it smelling good in the studio with our Witty Wicks candles. So, you got to set the ambiance, right? This is a team that's 2-0. Got some heating up going on. We got a game today for the Binghamton Bearcats, and Levell Sanders, the head coach of the team, is here with me following victories over Casanova College at home and on the road at Marist College tonight, November 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. They'll take on the University of Maryland in Maryland. Levell, how you doing?
What's up, Dan? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Levell, first and foremost, taking a look at these first couple games of the season. We know that last year was a little unique. When the first time I spoke with you, there was an interim tag, and I had said in that conversation, I actually wrote down on there, I crossed out the word interim and put it at the screen and said, let's get rid of it. This is your first official season without any of that, as the head coach, as the leader, recruiting, that way, and knowing that this is your team for the future and for the right now. Just what you can say about going into this season in a little bit of a different sense than last year, knowing that there was no interim, there is a contract, and there is a future for you there.
Yeah, Dan, you know what? It's not much different because I think we approached last season, as if we had a contract. I don't know if I said this on your show last time, but again, a lot of times when things are happening for me, I'm always, reaching out to Coach Amica for advice. And the one thing that he told me was, you shouldn't try it. You shouldn't beat it as if you're trying to, get a contract. You should do the job as if you already have a contract. And so that's how we approached it. We didn't approach it. Like I said, the only thing that was really difficult about last season was recruiting because, it was hard to try to convince parents and kids that, you're going to be somewhere and you're an interim. And so that was the hardest thing about last year. But, our approach has not changed. It's definitely a lot easier to recruit. You don't hear the stories about coaches saying this and coaches using that behind your back. But in terms of how we're approaching the season, I mean, we're still trying to go out and do our jobs and put our team and our program in position to be successful.
And like you said, recruiting was the only place where it was, a little interesting because you're telling them, hey, this is what we want for our future, and we want your son to come play for this program, but you still had the interim tag at the time. Bring me into the recruiting trail now and just what has been the reception of the Binghamton Bearcats when you are out there looking at different young men to be the future of this program, just how you feel you've been received up to this point.
I think it's been good. I mean, a lot of our coaches, especially the assistant coaches, have connections with a bunch of different people, and so I didn't feel last summer that when we had the interim tag, I didn't feel in terms of like going out to talk about Binghamton because we were trying to sell ourselves. It wasn't so much trying to sell the university because our program didn't have a lot of success. And so, we were selling, we are a good academic institution. But in terms of basketball, we had to try to sell ourselves and what we can help kids with and how we can help them become better human beings. And so that was what we were selling to kids. And this year was the same thing. I think the only thing we could mention is that we feel our program is on a rise. We can talk about we had won more games in conference. It was the most wins we had in the last I don't know how many years. So those kind of things we were able to talk about, and I think it kind of put a kind of picture of where we're trying to go. And so we did have some good kind of ammunition to use with recruits. But I think we were well received. I think the more you win and the more recognition your program receives, the school receives, the better it becomes on a recruit trail. And so that's our mission, and that's what we're out to do.
And looking at where you are this season, a couple games, and making sure that your out of conference schedule is going to challenge this team and get you ready for the America East. Just what games like the game tonight against Maryland can do for you?
Yeah, I think when you play against teams like Maryland, last year we played Connecticut. I think it's a confidence builder. Especially if you can go in there and you can play well. You can compete against teams that are Power 5 and Power 5 conferences. It's a confidence booster. Looking at Maryland, and I think we have to challenge our team. Even playing against a team like Fordham and LaSalle, those teams are, an Atlantic 10 conference, which is one of the better conferences in the country for basketball. And so, having an opportunity to play against those type of teams, and especially if you can go out there and hold your own and play well and try to win some of those games, it's definitely a confidence booster. And then also, you get a chance to play against guys from time are bigger, stronger, faster. You get a chance as coaches. You get a chance to coach. You get some really good coaches, and so all across the board, it tests us as a program, and then also it gives us things that we can look at and say, okay, well, we can do this better and do that better, or we can look at it and say, man, we're doing this really well, and we're doing this really well, and so it's definitely a gauge when you can go and see what other programs are doing. We come into the hotel and. Maryland is staying in a hotel, the same hotel we're staying in, right? And they said, yeah, we saw one of the coaches, and he said, yeah, home games, we usually put our guys in a hotel. And so, again, those are things you can look and see and compare. Of course, their budget is way bigger than our budget, but again, it just goes to show you how other people are doing things.
Yeah, and having this matchup in the Big Ten with a team like Maryland, just what it does this early on in the season. You got a 2-0 start. So what does it do for you in these first few games to get the kinks out and kind of, coaching-wise, obviously you don't want to give the game plan away and some of the things that you're thinking, but what is kind of your hope for a game like this beyond getting the victory? What do you want to see in a game where you're going to get tested in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think we always try to focus on what we're doing and what we need to do to be successful. And so it gives us an opportunity to play some different lineups. It gives us opportunities to try some different things defensively, offensively. Because you're playing as a team that plays a certain style, and so you want to try to do this and do that. And so that's what it really does. And then again, like I said, it gives you an opportunity to figure out where you need to get better at and things you're doing well to try to keep enhancing those things. And so that's where, again, we try to, when we play teams like Maryland, try to gauge and see where we're at. We know we still have a lot of work to do, but we do feel that we're making some progress. And again, the more we can play against teams like Maryland to test ourselves, the better it is for us.
There was a time in the past before you came to Binghamton where there was a negative stigma, and one of the record-wise worst teams in Division I of over 300 schools. What have you done to alter the viewpoint on the Binghamton Bearcats? Because I know you had a lot of success last season. There was a lot of positive spotlight that you brought to the school itself and not just the men's basketball program. So what can you say about shifting Binghamton's men's basketball team into a more positive and fruitful light than maybe what people knew it as in the past?
I think, I think when you win games, all of those things kind of come along with it. Now there are some things, there's some steps you need to take. I think one of the first things we did was we wanted to make everything really hard for our guys, because life is hard. Games are hard. It's hard to win Division I basketball games, and so that was one of the first things we did. We just, we told our strength and conditioning coach or our sports performance coach, like, listen, whatever we need to do to make this thing hard, let's do that. We started waking up 6 o'clock and we started having practice at 6 a.m. in the morning, to just try to create that mindset of, you have to be disciplined to go to sleep at night, to wake up and not wake up at 5:50 and trying to speed to campus, but, to get up at 5 o'clock to get something to eat, so, we try to create a mindset for our guys of like, yo, this is going to be hard. And if we can get through this, and we should be able to get through this, then we're going to be better on the other side. And so, we had some games last year. I was talking to President Stinger the other day, after we beat Marist, he sent me a text message, and, he was saying, good win, but, and I was telling him, he was like, last year we lost these games, early in the season. I remember, we were up 15 at Marist, and they came back a little bit, and we ended up pulling out the game. But last year at Columbia, we were up 16 with 6 minutes left, and we lost that game. And so, I think we are taking some steps. And so again, I think when you win, people start to take interest in the program. When you, as I said, when you win more conference games in the last, I don't know how many years, those things start to grab some attention. And so, it's these guys are working hard, and I think now they're starting to see some fruits of their labor. But we still have a long way to go, and I think if we just keep playing the way we need to play and putting defense first, which we always want to do, because we feel like in travel, you can play defense in any gym. I think if we continue to do that, I think we'll put ourselves in position to be successful.
Levell Sanders is here with us at Binghamton Bearcats men's basketball head coach. Levell, these first couple games that you've gotten under your belt, what are the things about this team that you feel best about as you went through, kind of training and practice and getting into these first couple games of action? Where are those strong areas? And I know it's very early on in the season, but what are points of emphasis at this point?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've kind of felt early on was that we thought we could be a really good defensive team. We lost 6 guys in the transfer portal, and we just felt like we needed to bring in guys who could naturally defend, which will make our team defense a lot better. And so that was one of the areas we wanted to address. And so I think I think we can be a really good defensive team. Like I said, we still have some work to do. We still gotta get everybody on the same page. But it's a work in progress. But I see that as something that we're going to be able to hang our hats on, and that's a point of emphasis for us. It's we want to become a better team and challenge to be one of the best teams in the American East. Then we gotta be a much better defensive team than we were last year. And then another point of emphasis is just being able to play together, right, on both sides of the ball, but especially offensively. I'm a big believer in chemistry. Team chemistry is built on an offensive end. When guys are sharing the ball and everybody touches the ball and everybody's happy and everybody's getting shots, and team chemistry is going to be great. But when guys are being selfish and they're not passing the ball, when guys are open and the guards are just shooting the ball all the time and never throw the ball inside to the big guys, that's when the friction starts to happen. And the one thing that I do is I always address that right away. Whenever I see something, it's on video. We watch video every day before practice. And so, not long, 5-10 minutes, 10 minutes max, but we do watch video every day. We watch, we watch ourselves. Again, I like to focus more on us than other teams, but we watch ourselves a lot because I think that it's needed. And so we do we try to do a really good job of, before any of those things kind of start to linger, we try to point those things out right away. And I always try to tell guys it's nothing personal. We all just want to be successful, and if we want to be successful, this is the way we have to do it. And so, defending as a team and individually and sharing the ball, I think are our points of emphasis this year.
Levell, for you in this world that we live in, we know that realignment and reclassification, all these things that have been happening, right? So as a coach in the America East had some membership changes and had one member go from D1 to D3, another member go to another conference. You bring in a team like Bryant. When you start the America East this season and you start conference play, ironically, you're going to be starting conference play against the new team coming in, Bryant's, on the road. So just what you could say about the musical chairs of realignment and your thoughts on having a team like the Bryant Bulldogs inside of the conference.
Yeah, I think it's a reality. It's something that's not going away. It's a, we know everything is driven by money and revenue. And so all of these things are that, football kind of runs the show, and whatever football wants, football gets. And so we have to understand that. I just try to focus on the things that we can control, and we can't control who's coming or going and who's staying. Having a team like Bryant in our league, I think is great. I didn't really know much about Bryant beforehand, but now because they're in a conference, you kind of follow them a little bit. You see that they playing games, and they look like they're a powerhouse team. And so having a team like that in our conference, it just adds more credibility to the America East, which I think is a really good conference, and people don't give it enough credit. But having a team like Bryant in our conference, I think is going to help us. It's going to do wonders. I mean, they're a team that was in the NCAA tournament last year. So I think they're going to be really good. They have a really good team. Really, I don't really know much about their coach. I'm pretty sure he's a good coach also. So I think it adds credibility to our league.
And before I let you go, speaking here with Levell Sanders, Binghamton Bearcats men's basketball head coach, for you, this has been a journey as a player, playing collegiately, going overseas, coming back and having a coaching opportunity and moving forward. What can you say about this current chapter of your life? How would you describe it?
How would I describe it? I would describe it as being awesome. Again, I don't know how many people, I'm pretty sure there are some, but I don't know how many people can do something that they love for their entire career. I was a player, right? That was my profession. And then now I'm coaching. That's my profession. That's my job. And it's still basketball. And so it's a great feeling, to start the season again, and, being in the road in a hotel and hanging out with the coaches and the players. Of course, being away from my family is tough, but again, I'm getting a chance to do something that I love by coaching the game that I love. I love being around basketball. I love talking basketball. And so this is awesome, just starting out as a collegiate coach. And so I'm at the beginning of the rope, but so far it's been an awesome ride.
You get to play a lot of teams in the state of New York, the Colgates, the Fordhams, the Niagaras, Cornell, and obviously inside of the America East, you get to play Albany. What does it mean to you to have all of these games in and out of conference with the state of New York? And is it time that we have a home and home that's a normal thing when it comes to Syracuse?
Yeah, I think number one is for us strategically is budget wise, right? Like it gives us an opportunity to not have to get on a plane and fly here and fly there, which would kill our budget. And so that's a great thing for us. I would love to be able to play Syracuse, Colgate, and all these schools, but it has to make sense for both sides. We as mid-major Division I team such as we are, we have to bring in a certain amount of money, for the school in terms of guarantee games. And so, we try to find the schools that we can make the money with, and it hasn't worked out with Syracuse right now. But who knows? I have two really good friends on the coaching staff there, and Alan Griffin and Red Autry, and so maybe we can make that happen pretty soon.
And a note here, two final notes. So you just mentioned Alan Griffin and Red Autry. How would you describe them to someone who's never met them before? They're both friends of mine as well, but I'd love to get your description of Red and your description of Griff if someone had never met them.
So Al, I think he's a fellow Brooklyn. He's actually from my neighborhood. He's younger than me, but he's to me he's a joker. He's a funny guy. He's a really good dude, and both of them are. But I think he's more of a jokester. I saw him. We were recruiting this summer, and we stood together on the wall, and the whole time he's just cracking jokes the whole time. And so I think he's more of a jokester. Red to me is a little bit more serious. Red is a little bit older than me. I kind of looked up to him when I was coming up. He was a big guard. I remember the first time I seen him play. I think he was a sophomore. He was playing in the Wilshire Classic. He's playing against Kenny Anderson, and it's funny because so Red, when I was overseas, he came to recruit Marek Dolajai, who was playing at Syracuse.
Yeah,
and I knew somebody that knew him, so we ended up meeting up over in the Czech Republic. And I remember he told me, I was telling him about that story, and he told me about he was a sophomore. He was playing against Kenny Anderson. Kenny Anderson was the biggest thing in the world at that time. And they were playing the Wilshire Classic, and he sprained his ankle because he came down. I think he came down on Red's foot. And he was telling me, like, man, he had to get escorted out of the gym because people wanted to, they wanted to kill him, because he made Kenny Anderson sprain his ankle. And but yeah, he's to me, he's like the OG. He's an older guy, a little bit older than me. But again, another really good guy. People that, I mean, if you didn't know him, you probably just by looking at him, you might think he's a serious and maybe not approachable. But man, two really good guys, and again, guys that again, Alan's a little bit younger than me, but a guy like Red, I really looked up to. Alan, I saw him play a little bit when I was, as I was leaving Seton Hall. He was coming in, but two really good dudes.
And you just said that Adrian Autry was going to recruit Dolajai at the time when you were over there and crossed paths. And the funny thing about that story is that Red and I had a conversation about Dolajai, and I still to this day had I remember he was like, don't tell anybody where I'm going and who I'm going to look at, because nobody had gone over there. And I think he maybe got a couple phone calls from coaches, and then Dolajai told me all the years later, he said he was the only coach from any school to ever physically come see me and my father. And I'll never forget that. Adrian was like, I'm going on a plane. I'm going to see this kid. And I'll never forget, that was Dolajai and one of my favorite players in Syracuse history. Just one of the most competitive dudes. So I think it's really cool that you're connected to that story as well. So final.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is, and when he. No, I was saying the funny thing about it was when he came to the Czech Republic, I think Marek had twisted his ankle or something, so he didn't even see him play when he got there, and so I think he ended up coming over for a visit, and he ended up playing on his visit. But yeah, he went all the way over there and he sprained his ankle. He didn't even get a chance to see him play.
And it's funny that you talk about what happened to Kenny Anderson and then something happens to Dolajai, and similar in that respect as well. The closing thing here, you and I have never talked about this before. I know the Binghamton area. I know the southern tier, the Vestal area and whatnot. I know some local spots and places to go to eat. I, was around that for many, many years. I guess you could call him like an adopted grandfather. My ex's grandfather and I are very, very close. And he was like a king in the southern tier. And just an amazing human being, and God rest him in heaven to Grandpa Bill. he knew the spots, and so through him I got to go to some spots. I would love for you to tell me where your spots are for food. Since you're a New York City guy, I know it's hard to please somebody like you, and I get that. But where do you go in the Southern Tier?
You know what? My wife cooks a lot, and so I don't eat out a lot. So I really couldn't tell you. I mean, we like to go to Rimlick's. We go to the Garage Taco. We go to quite often as a coaching staff. Like Copper Top, we'll go to Copper Top, but like we don't really have any kind of hidden eating spots in Binghamton. Like I said, I don't eat out a lot at all. My wife, I actually, when we have recruits are really the times that I really get a chance to go out and eat, because we take them to different restaurants and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you probably have to tell me. Sonny was actually telling me. Sonny actually texted me about he texted me, was it Sunday morning? He texted me about if I know any bagel places close to the campus, any bagel spots, and I was like, I don't know. And he was like, well, I said I didn't even know they had bagel spots in Binghamton, and so he gave me 2 spots to check out. One in one in Endicott and one in Binghamton, So yeah, you guys know more spots than I do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know the one in Endicott for sure, but that's because I think I've been there a bunch of times. They got a little drive-through and a small, like small place on the outside, but like busy, and you got to get yourself over there because I don't think they stay open that late. And I think you and I had the conversation last time that New York City that you like juniors, but you don't eat cheesecake, but you went there for the burgers. Do I remember that right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm not a cheesecake guy.
Yeah, me neither. But I just thought it was funny that juniors, which a lot of people know from Diddy and Dylon saying that he wasn't going to go get cheesecake. And then you're like, oh yeah, the burgers are good. So something to remember. Right. That coming from Levell Sanders, Binghamton Bearcats men's basketball head coach. Well, Coach, I know you got a big game coming up tonight, so God bless with that. And obviously safe travels back, and always look forward to having you back on the show. And can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you're here in the state of New York and in Binghamton doing great things. And I know the community means a lot to us, so thanks for everything you do.
Appreciate it, Dan, man. It's good to be here. It's good to be back home. Even though I'm not in the city, I'm in the state of New York, so happy to be back. And thank you for always, reaching out and giving me the opportunity to speak on your platform.
Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. 4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to K9 Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Always happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. These Cafe Kubal Studios brought to you in our exclusive studio partnership with the wonderful place of Cafe Kubal. Many locations in central and upstate New York, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse. You also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse, in their drive-through location right by the airport, and on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, a place that I paid a visit to this week to pick up my chai, and to do it this time with vanilla and cocoa. And it's been really awesome. So I like mixing it up, changing it up, flavoring it up. Got to put some cocoa in there because it's cold, right? You got to get ready for hot chocolate season. So head out to Cafe Kubal today and make sure you support local. As I said, we're here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all / WakeUpCallDT, on Facebook.com / LiveNowDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage where the live feed is embedded. So, however you're connected with the show, make sure that you're with us every Monday through Friday. And, of course, you can listen back on many different channels throughout the week. With that being said, we are inside of MonPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. You just heard from Levell Sanders, the Binghamton Bearcats men's basketball head coach. And now we're shifting gears from the court to the field, as I will be joined back-to-back by Syracuse Orange alumni of the football program, the brotherhood of this program, and I am so elated and appreciative. And I found a nice old picture, courtesy of his Facebook page. Found a picture from back in the day with a little bit of high socks going on, and that's Pat Davis, Syracuse Orange tight end alum. Played from 85 to 88 with the Syracuse Orange, was part of the 87 undefeated team, the last undefeated team at Syracuse, and one of two undefeated teams, joining the 1959 national championship team that was also undefeated. He was an NFL draft pick after that, and since then, we have had the opportunity to meet one another because the Syracuse Brotherhood, they do this awesome pregame and postgame get together, and I want to thank everybody that was there. Blake Bednarz and Turnell Sims got me the information about it, and I want to give them a big thank you so that I could meet Pat Davis and all of these wonderful players that have been a part of our history. So we got to meet there. We got to get some great food, break bread together, and have a good time. And I can't thank him enough for just hanging out and spending a few minutes, and that's what he's here to do today. Pat Davis, Syracuse Orange tight end alum, joining Wake Up Call for the first time ever as we get to make history with someone who is a part of history in Syracuse, New York. Pat, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Dan. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Pat. And you know, I mentioned the pre and post game get together in the lot there, right outside of the Dome, because of the fact that, you know, I said to Isaac Elford, who was there with me, and we do a lot of shows together and whatnot, a fantastic guy in our society as well, and him and I were talking, and I said, this is where it is. I said, it's not even in the Dome. I said, these are the moments when you're around these people that help to build this program. And the common theme that I find with yourself, Pat, with Rob Drummond and Blake Bednarz and Turnell Sims and so on and so forth, is that there is a family that is connected, that love each other, that spend time together, reminisce with each other, talk about things outside of football, check in on each other's family, check in on each other in general. And I said to Isaac, this is the best part of the game. I'd love to get your thoughts on why you come back, why you spend time in that parking lot breaking some bread together, and just what it means to you that after all these years, your teammates and people from past teams will reconnect and be together.
Well, Dan, I think it's like you said, we are brotherhood. We spent a lot of time naturally on the field during those years that we played. And it was good because we also related well off the field. And it definitely is a family type orientation. We feel good around each other. We check on each other. We have, especially during the pandemic, we sometimes go to each other's kids' games to support their children. And, we've been family since, 1987. I don't think that there were many relationships that weren't good off the field. But once we got on that field together, we were definitely family. We were definitely in the trenches together. And I think that it's created a bond that's lasted, like you said, since 1987. So we try to get up to any games that we can up in Syracuse, or even if they're not in Syracuse. I just recently went to a Colgate game to watch a good friend of mine, Jimmy Gaughan's son from Scranton, JC Scranton. He's the captain on Colgate's football team, and they were close to me at Lehigh University down here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So we rode up and tailgated with him and his family, and it was just good to see everybody. Just like when we saw you at the tailgate, like you said, man, it's just a joy to see everybody. And with us losing so many people from the pandemic and just losing people in general, it's good to see everybody anytime we can.
Yeah, and it's an awesome opportunity to reconnect as well as it is to meet new people and build those bonds and those relationships. And here with Pat Davis, a Syracuse Orange tight end alum and part of the 1987 undefeated team, joining me here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this morning inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Pat, when you look at keeping with that brotherhood and that family, I've had a lot of alumni on the show of the Syracuse football program to tell me they don't feel welcome. And with each other, yes, but with the university, not so much. That there's not a lot going on. There's not a warm and fuzzy feeling and whatnot. And I've spoken with a lot of the former student athletes like yourself about this. Doesn't matter the decade, doesn't matter the age of the player, doesn't matter the win-loss record of that team. A lot of people that do come back say, I don't feel welcome, or they don't come back. Joe Morris hadn't been back in a really long time. Marvin Graves had not been back since he had played. Tebucky Jones, who came back this past weekend against Florida State, had not been back to the Dome since he played in the Dome, which is insane because he was drafted in 1998. So what is your thought on that? Do you feel welcomed by the current regime of the university? And I'd just love to get your thoughts on what the bridge feels like between the Syracuse football alumni and the university itself.
Well, that's a good question, Dan. I saw Tebucky Jones also at the UConn game. My friend Carl Jenkins and I drove up to the UConn game to see that game because that was close to us. Like I said, we try to get to anything that's in the vicinity, or a couple hours away. As far as the communication between the new regime, as you put it, and some of the players that have played in the past, I've heard certain things, similar to what you're saying. I think that, there was a time when Doug Marrone may have been there and a few other coaches that, some of us, as you said, haven't felt the most welcome. I think they're doing a better job at it now, but it definitely isn't on the level that it should be. You have great teams like Florida State, who they just played, and other teams that they've played like Notre Dame. These guys come back and, not only do they not need tickets, sometimes, they're on the sidelines with the team. So I don't think it was ever a situation where any of us coming back as former players wanted to take anything away from the team or be a distraction. I think we just wanted to be a part of the team, as we've always wanted to be since we played there, ourselves. I think that as we spoke before of the brotherhood is great. And sometimes we just want to reconnect, with these guys who are younger than we are and get a sense of, what they're going through now and be able to talk to them as young men and be some kind of example to them. And I think that, I think the relationship between former players and the new coaching staff, and it's definitely not everybody, so I don't want to put.
Yeah, and Pat, that's a sentiment that's been echoed through the walls of history and through the airwaves of this show for many, many years now. Whenever I have had anybody on from the football program in Syracuse Orange history, I tell people all the time, I don't care if you played 1 down, 100 down, I don't play, you've played every game, started every game, first round draft pick, didn't get drafted, doesn't matter to me. If you're a part of the family, you're a part of the family. And so, I just have these conversations over the years, and I started to realize a central theme, a very unfortunate theme. And then, talking with some of the guys during COVID, they said, Dan, you're our voice. We don't have one. You gave us one. And I never, thought that it would be like this. I don't hear about this with Florida or Florida State or Tennessee. I mean, as an example, Florida State, Mike Norvell, he's been the coach. This is his 3rd season. I call it 2.5 because they had a very abridged season in 2020 where they played less games than the less games that most teams played. And Mike Norvell, Chad Mavety, who's a guy from like the New York City area, he was an offensive lineman recruited by Scott Schaefer in Syracuse. He wanted to come to Syracuse, but couldn't pass up some opportunities that he had elsewhere. He really liked Scott, but overall he chose Florida State. And he played years before Mike Norvell was the coach. And I believe he was there with Jimbo Fisher. So this is, pre-Willie Taggart, pre-Mike Norvell. He said, Dan, I went on campus and they knew I was coming. I got there and Mike Norvell greeted me, knew me by my full name, and knew the years that I played at Florida State. And he wasn't my coach. And I just remember that story because I never hear that on the Hill at Syracuse. And like you said, and like I've said many times, it's not a witch hunt. It's an understanding of how it seems like the most basic recipe of success for any program is to include the people that help to build what you have. you would not be the coach of a program that was not built by student athletes before you got there. And you wouldn't be able to reflect on positive history if not for the student athletes and coaches that got there. And so if I'm Dino, I want to know as many people from the 1987 team as I can, because you guys weren't respected, you weren't given the credit, and you had to work for it, and you became an undefeated team at a time where I don't think anybody besides you guys thought that that was going to happen. I would think that any coach, Dino, Doug Marrone, Scott Schaefer, Greg Robinson, may he rest in peace, that any of these coaches after Coach P and Coach Mack, because they got it, that these guys would understand the importance of talking to those that came before, especially those that were successful, and those that found a way as no stars, 2 stars, 3-star guys. I don't know if you had any 5-star guys on the 87 team that were given 5 stars coming into Syracuse. So I guess it just boggles my mind why you would not want to connect with your history, especially some of the greatest pieces of your history, and you were a part of that.
Yeah, I think, what you're saying is exactly right. I think the most welcome that we've felt since we left Syracuse was in 2017. I think they brought us back for a 30-year reunion, and it was just great to be on our way down to the field and hear some of the fans thanking us for the season and thanking us for the good times that they had at the games, watching those games, beating Penn State, beating several teams that we hadn't beaten in the past. I mean, the first time we beat Penn State, it had been 17 years since we had beat them. And so it was a great thing to walk down to the field and have people thank you, to have people still know your name and know who you are. And, that's the kind of fan base you have up there at Syracuse. I mean, it's a great fan base. And like you said, who wouldn't want to be surrounded by former players, especially players that not only put the same amount of time, if not more in, but also helped create and redevelop the program. So, that was the pitch that they gave to me when they recruited me out of high school, when Coach McPherson recruited me out of high school. Everybody has a pitch when they come into your home, when they try to recruit you. And the pitch was that, we want you to come to Syracuse to help turn this program around. And we definitely did. We turned the program around. I think we were 5-6 when I went there. The next year we were 6-5. The next year we were 11-0-1. That was the undefeated season. And even my senior year, we were 10-2. And I was also on the team when we upset Nebraska in the Dome 17-9 with a great catch by Mike Ciano. So, I would think that you would want every possible player that was a former player, especially ones from the undefeated team who found a way to win, who knew how to win, and who still came from a point where they were a losing team originally. So, Pascaloni and, some of the coaches before them, they did a great job of bringing former players back and keeping us aligned and involved with the program. And then, there was a great fall off for a long time. I think the athletic director up there and a couple other people have done things to make it a little better. And like I said, it's slowly getting better, but it's still not there. And, we used to have town hosts when I got recruited by Syracuse who were basically families or people who loved the Orangeman program, Syracuse University. And you would actually talk to them about different things about Syracuse, the actual town and, what there is to do. And, I picked Syracuse out of a whole bunch of schools that I could have gone to. And when you pick a university that's, 4 hours away and you're on your recruiting trip and you end up in a 18-inch blizzard and you still chose to go there, that says a lot for the program, and it says a lot for the people from the community. And, I enjoyed my recruiting trip and then finally made a decision to go to Syracuse. They had been recruiting me since I was a sophomore, and Coach McPherson and his coaches at the time did a great job in recruiting. And I think that, there also has to be some steps up, because you mentioned were some of us 5 stars. Some of us were maybe 3 or 4 stars. It really wasn't that serious back then as it is now about labeling a recruit exactly as to what he is, whether it be a 3-star, 2-star, whatever. But I think the difference back then is that they went anywhere they had to go to get a recruit. Didn't matter about the neighborhood, didn't matter where you had to go get him, and it didn't matter whether he was sometimes a 3rd or 4-star recruit. Darryl Johnston was probably a 2-star recruit in some people's mind back then. A guy out of upstate New York himself, but had been only recruited by a few schools. And Syracuse found him a needle in the haystack, who ends up being possibly a Hall of Fame player for the NFL. So you have to be willing to sometimes, I don't want to say settle for a 2-star or settle for a 3-star, but you have to be able to look out there and see sometimes who might fit better into the program rather than to judge them on how good they are as a senior in high school.
Yeah, and when you look at, like you said, back then we weren't looking at the star, and I don't like the stars because I think the numbers can be manipulated, but as in a lot of numbers, I guess. But when you see what this team did in 1987 that you were a part of, and like you said, you were a part of the 1984 as well. Came into Syracuse and at Nebraska, taking on the Orange in the Dome and knocking them off. I mean, what some consider the greatest win in Syracuse football history, greatest win in the Dome. It was number 1 Nebraska. I mean, obviously the 59 team did a lot of work. The game against West Virginia where y'all went for 2 was a huge one as well. But, you mentioned Nebraska, Syracuse. I'd love to reflect on that. I'm sitting in the studio right now, and we have multiple, kind of different screens here. So one of the screens that I'm looking at right now as we're talking is I'm watching the playback of the 1984 game against Nebraska in the Dome and seeing this victory and just how incredible this was back in history. The number 1 team in the nation playing up against the Syracuse Orange and you guys getting the victory. Just bring me into, being a part of that squad and just what you took away from that game and your memories of that and everything that Syracuse did inside of their home to represent the city well and knock off the number 1 team in the nation.
That was a great game, Dan. Just everything about it was just, amazing. I think that when we came out of the tunnel that day, and, I wasn't playing at that particular time. I was a redshirt freshman just coming in. But you could see, if you were in our locker room, that no matter what our record was at that particular time, that, these guys were ready to play. And everybody in that locker room, for whatever reason, thought they could win that game. And as you said, we're talking about, the number 1 team in the country. And don't quote me, but I believe they won the national championship that year. I'm not sure. But, we had a guy actually from Princeton, New Jersey, Paul Miles, who was a backup running back on that particular team. And I think Doug Dubose was another running back that they had. And I'm not sure if Rozier was there, but I think he was the starter. But I remember that Derek Ward, who was on our team, was so fired up. I think he must have knocked 2 of them out of the game, just on the kickoff team alone. So, the energy was really great in the Dome. As I said before, Mike Ciano makes a great catch. They still call that the catch, even still today. And, we end up winning the ball game 17-9. I think Nebraska not only took us for granted, but also took the fact that they were playing inside as it being one of the better things that could happen to them rather than them being outside. What they didn't realize is that when you put 50-some thousand people in that dome and you close up those vents, you're playing in a sauna at some point. And so if you're not used to it, we made sure we practiced in the dome at least 3 times that week, which we usually did anyway. Anytime we had a home game, we would practice at least a couple days in the dome just to get used to that heat and to be able to be on the turf and to get ready for that particular game. And like I said, that's one of the greatest catches in Syracuse history. I have to, as you said, be a little, on my team, I have to be a little whatever about Pat Kelly's catch too. A little biased as to some of the greatest catches there. That was a great catch too, for him to put us in a position to go undefeated with the catch that he made in the West Virginia game. God rest his soul. So, yeah, there's been a lot of excitement in the Dome, and it was just a great place to play. It still is.
Yeah, the moments, though, when we go back there, the West Virginia game, the Nebraska game, these moments that have happened inside of the Dome, the moments that you've lived some of the greatest moments in the history of Syracuse football, being a part of the team as a redshirt freshman in the Nebraska game and then playing from 85 to 88. You had the opportunity to not only live those moments, but to be a part of those great moments, to, make a key play yourself. And so, I think the hardest thing for me, Pat, it's bittersweet that I'm talking with someone who has been a piece of some of the greatest moments in history for Syracuse football, but at the same time, in the Dome in recent history, not a lot to write home about. Not a great moment. Not a lot of great moments. There's been wins over Louisville when Louisville was undefeated. We know that that's happened in recent history. There's things that Sean Tucker has done and people that he's passed on the career rushing list, and he's done a lot of those things inside of the Dome to get into the top 5, and this past week got into the top 4 up against Florida State, past Larry Zonka for 4th all-time in career rushing yards. So there have been some good moments, but not in the sense of the big-time victories. How bittersweet is that for you, that you look back on your time or reflect on your time in a uniform for the orange and blue, and you got to have not only great moments in Syracuse history, but arguably the greatest moments in the Dome in Syracuse history, and then you fast forward to now, where a team is 4-8, 5-7, and just trying to get to 6-6.
Yeah, I wish for those guys, that they had a lot more memories. I did go to a few of some of their great memories myself. I remember the Clemson game where they upset Clemson in the Dome. I think that that was a big thing for them, and you come back as a former player, and you want that for those guys. This guy, as you mentioned, Sean Tucker, he's a great running back, and he's going to be remembered, no matter what. And, it's nice to see that he's passed some of the better football players that they've had in the past, the better running backs, because he is a very good running back, in my opinion, himself. So I'm glad he can have those type of memories, and I wish a lot more memories for those guys. We have memories of not only having a great undefeated team, but we probably have the best team in Syracuse history as far as a 2-year span too, because my junior and senior year, if you put 11-0-1 together and then 10-2, we only lost 2 games and had 1 tie in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So that's never been duplicated either. And that record of those 2 years stands against any top program in the country, whether it be Nebraska, whether it be Alabama, whether it be whoever. And, it was great. One of the great memories that I have also is playing against LSU in the Hall of Fame Bowl down in Tampa, Florida. That was another game that I'll always remember, where the South really thought that, that we couldn't play football, and we went on the field and showed them, as we did in the Sugar Bowl. There should have never been a tie in the Sugar Bowl. We went for an undefeated season when it was, 31 or 32. What was it? 32-31, I think. and we went for the 2-point conversion instead of, tying for. We could have settled for a tie, and the season still would have been undefeated. But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to get in there and go for the win and not have not only a blemish on our record, but not even a tie on our record. So I still respect Coach Mack for that decision. And, I think the same should have been done when we played Auburn. But, Pat Dye at that time, it is what it is. There was no overtime back then, and unfortunately he chose to go for a tie instead of the win.
Yeah, and we reflect on that time, and I heard that, I think I heard that day when I had met you at the tailgate, that there are still Auburn fans to this day that if they see any of you from the Syracuse team, they apologize. And, I just find it incredibly ridiculous that there was ever a time. I mean, the postseason's the one time you can't tie, right? I mean, you look at soccer games known as football around the world, kind of ironic here in the statement I'm about to make, but in the game of soccer, you can tie in the regular season. You could tie 100 times in the regular season, but you can't tie in the postseason because you have to have a champion. You have to have somebody move on. You can't give a trophy to both. You can't tie in the World Cup. You can't tie in a national championship game. And that is what blows my mind in football is it's like, okay, well, there's these rules for this, that, and whatever. The NFL, you can still tie in the NFL in the regular season, but you can't tie in the postseason. You can't have the Eagles play the Vikings and be like, well, you both get to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense that there was ever a time in a bowl season where you could tie and both get a trophy. And I've heard many thoughts about this, and I'd love to get yours because you just mentioned it a little bit here. I feel like it was the coward's way out. It's the way to save face. It's the SEC saying, we can't lose to little old independent Syracuse. We can't have this blemish. We have to do something to kind of erase the history or just negate the history by tying and saying everyone gets a trophy. There's two problems I have with that game. Number one, that you can tie in a bowl game. And number two, what Auburn did to say, okay, well, they beat us the whole game, but let's just make it look like it was better than it was. I'd love to get your take on it because I, for as long as I live, will never understand how any bowl game in any postseason in any history of any sport that you can end a playoff game in a tie.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Dan. Pat Dye's excuse for the tie at that particular time is that he felt that his players had played just as hard as we did, and he didn't want his team to come out of there with a loss, and that was his reason, supposedly, for going for the tie. But I think that if you were at that game, if you saw that game on television or you were there in person, that Syracuse beat Auburn that particular day. I mean, I can even remember Bo Jackson being on the sideline and, talking a lot of junk as part of, football as it is. And even Bo, by the end of the game, was very quiet on the sideline. They had a guy who was really good at that time, Andre Bruce. And, of course, we had Donnie McPherson and a whole bunch of other players at that particular time. And, no, I'm totally against the tie. I don't care what, time of the season it is, whether it's regular season or in the postseason. There definitely should be a winner for each game. I'm not really a big fan of, giving the team the ball on the 35 or whatever they do going in, and then you try to score from there. If the team scores a field goal, then you get a chance to also match the field goal, and if anybody gets a touchdown, then the game is over. I'm not a big fan of that. I think that the game should start all over, as most sports do, and you kick off, and maybe you have a quarter, and hopefully somebody scores within a quarter. I would rather do it that way.
Yeah, I think overtime rules have changed a lot and they're trying to figure it out. They do believe in each team getting the ball. So, I do see that as well, but I definitely, when it comes to the post game, you can't be tying games. It doesn't make any sense. And so to me, that undefeated season, remains undefeated in the way that you guys played against Auburn and many teams across the country is something that will forever go down in history. Pat Davis, Syracuse Orange tight end alum, NFL draft pick, and a member of the 1987 undefeated Orange, as well as a redshirt freshman on the 84 team that defeated Nebraska in the Dome. Pat, we've barely scratched the surface, but I would love the opportunity, because of that and because of the person that you are, to have you back on the show. It's definitely been my honor to meet you and get around you, and I love that Syracuse alumni introduce me to each other, that I'll see somebody I know and they'll say, oh, you got Drum and I, he's one of my best friends. We've been friends for 10 years now, and so I told him, I said, if you have one person in your life that would take a bullet for you, it's special. And I know Rob would do that for me, and I'd do it for him in a heartbeat. And when I came to the tailgate, he was like, oh, yeah, he's like, Pat's over there, and he's pointing guys, oh, you got to meet Jeff, and you got to, and to me, I love that more than anything. And that enriched my day. Honestly, I forgot who Syracuse played that day. I forgot the score of the game. All I cared about at that point was being around people and just sitting and listening. And I think that's a misconception of broadcasters. Maybe other guys are like this and other women in the field, but not me. They say we like to talk. And in all honesty, I love to listen. And standing there that day, I don't know how many words came out of my mouth. I just wanted to take it all in and listen. And I'm trying to find the words right now to adequately paint the picture of that opportunity that Isaac and I had, but I can't. It's a speechless moment. I'm sitting with history. I'm sitting with people that branded my city with a positive notion and positive themes and whatnot. Pat, I can't thank you enough, no matter how hard I try, to you, to your teammates, to people that came here, believed in it, like you said, got recruited in a snowstorm, came anyways. I can't thank you enough for what you've done, and I can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity to sit down with you, to talk with you, and for you to be on the show. I definitely would love to have you back. And like I said, there's not enough words on this planet for me to sit back and say, Mr. Davis, thank you for coming to my city. Thank you for representing my city, and thank you for the work that you've done. And wherever you don't feel welcome, please understand you will always be welcome on this show, and you'll always be welcome in my house. You come into town, you want to have some good Italian, Hispanic food, I got you. And that's how I feel.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Dan, man. I said at the place, when we talked for a while that day at the tailgate, and, I want to say that it was also great talking to you, and, you said you would reach out to me. I want to thank you for that, because there's nothing more than I appreciate a man that keeps his word. And I also want to say that that was the Notre Dame game, actually, that we met, and I want to tell you that, man, I can just tell by the type of person that you are, that you love Syracuse and upstate New York. And I've seen some of your other shows, as I said before I called in. And I really appreciate you, my friend. And we'll always be on a first-name basis. You call me Pat, don't call me Mr. Davis. And you can call me anytime, man. I love the Orange program. I'm still looking for better things to come for them in the future. I like their swag. I like their youth. Unfortunately, they've run into a lot of injuries this year, which, I feel bad for that, because they weren't just a few week injuries. They were season-ending injuries, and a lot of the injuries were starters. So, who knows how well they could have actually done if they had their whole team. I hope the program continues to move forward, and I'll be there to help in any way that I can to help the program move forward. And you can call me anytime, my friend. I'm always happy to get up and talk about SU football or SU sports or just Syracuse University in general, man. Love my university.
No, thank you for those words, Pat. I appreciate that more than I can say. And I look forward to talking with you as well. And as Floyd Little said the first day I met him, he said, your word is the most valuable thing you own. If you don't keep your word, you're worthless. So you got to keep the word, and I definitely appreciate that. And it's been my honor to have you on here today, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Okay, my friend, I appreciate it. Just let me say one last thing to all of those Syracuse listeners and upstate New York listeners. I want to say thank you for being the fans you were and still are in that dome every week, and that it was my honor to put that uniform on and go out and play in front of that crowd. Just a great crowd in the dome. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Kind words, good words coming from Pat Davis. Pat, as always, I appreciate it. I look forward to talking with you soon, and thank you for that note.
All right, Dan, have a great day, my friend.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
That coming from Pat Davis here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Tebucky Jones coming up in just a second after this fast break inside of the Cafe Kubal studios.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Syracuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Cafe Kubal, located for you all around the Dome, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, New York. Also on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-through location of North Syracuse. Inside of maandpaspopcorn.com is what's popping, giving you the list of topics for the day and our awesome guests. You heard from Levell Sanders, the Binghamton Bearcats men's basketball head coach, early on in their season, getting set to take on Maryland tonight. And you just heard from a member of the 1984 team as a redshirt freshman when Nebraska fell to Syracuse in the Dome. He was there in orange and blue as a redshirt freshman and then played on the 1987 undefeated team. That is tight end Pat Davis. And now we have the opportunity to speak with my next guest, who is from Syracuse Orange football history as well. One of the greatest players to ever put on a jersey for the Syracuse Orange, one of my favorite players, and I still remember and have the program, one of the programs, I think he was on many of them, but still have the program back in the day, the thick one where you could actually look through the whole team and get a story about everybody. Still remember having that, remember the name, remember going to the games. And when you remember of all those players on the programs, you remember somebody specifically and personally says something about how they played. That is none other than Tebucky Jones, Syracuse Orange safety alum, first-round NFL draft pick, and a Super Bowl champion. So as I told him off the air, I think that there's enough accolades, enough hard work, dedication, and determination that has turned from talent into body of work where Syracuse should start retiring some of these defensive jerseys, and Tebucky being one of them. He's here with us live now on the broadcast after him and I got to see each other at the Florida State game. Tebucky, how you doing?
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, and you know what? I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I know you and I talked about it just now off the air on the fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. I believe you have done enough to get your jersey retired. I know it takes forever and a day for anything to get retired at Syracuse. It took Joe Morris decades. Donnie McPherson finally got his. Donovan McNabb got his. You're a Super Bowl champion. And just to kind of put two things up against each other, because I respect you both, Donovan McNabb made it to the Super Bowl, never won it, jersey retired. You made it to the Super Bowl, won it, also a first-round pick, like Donovan was a first-round pick. So my question to you, Tebucky Jones, should they retire your jersey, and are you surprised that they haven't yet?
You know what? I never really thought about that. I never really thought about it, but I always looked at this. How many players moved and played a position didn't in a year and made it went first round?
Right. That's a good point.
I'm pretty sure none of them did.
Yeah.
I think I was just one of those players that didn't matter. I probably could have played any position except for maybe offensive line and defensive line because they were a little too heavy.
Yeah, but what you did, like you said, changing position, becoming a first-round pick at Syracuse, bring me into that moment. For those that don't know, of the position change and how it all came about, what happened, the conversation, and kind of the domino effect that went into you being at Syracuse changing positions.
Well, basically, going in my senior year, I really didn't want to rotate because usually in the past, guys before, like I remember Terry Richardson, Kirby Dardar, those guys rotating. Malcolm Thomas got a little time. There was Malcolm Thomas, me, Kyle McIntosh, and then Conrad came in. And we were all, rotating in. And I felt I was too talented to not play like every down. So, going into my senior year, I was basically like, hey, went to Paxaloni. Like, I'd rather, let them guys play offense. I'd rather play defense. I want to play full time without substituting in, rotating, and it ended up working out for me.
And you said you went to Coach P, and we all know Coach P's seriousness and scariness sometimes. So when you went in and said, hey, this is what I would like to do, what was your relationship like with him? And did you feel like you could be as candid as that to say, hey, Coach, I know I'm playing running back. There's a lot of guys in rotation. I feel like I'm good enough to be on the field all the time.
You got to remember, I'm from the project, so I didn't have no fear of myself.
That's true.
But going in there, at first, he really had, it was like a disagreement. He wanted me to stay at running back. He wanted me to stay, but I was like, nah, I wanted to play DB because I wanted, to play all the time. So, going back and forth a little bit, eventually he ended up agreeing. And I went on from there. Next thing you know, I think I remember being ranked 69th safety in the country that year when I moved over. It ended up being the first safety drafted in the first round.
Yeah, so did you ever, when that happened, when you got drafted in the first round in 1998, did you make a phone call after you got drafted? Did you call up Coach P and say, I guess I was right?
No. Nah, you know, it's funny. I really, because when I got drafted, so I was in Connecticut. My goal, I just started training. You know, a lot of guys, you know, going out to the party and all that. I was married already in college, so I was married, had kids, so I just went to work, drove up to Massachusetts, started looking for a place, and started working out, getting ready. Before we even started, you know, with the how you call it, when the the rookies come in and the rookie symposium.
Yeah.
I was trying to start on my own, you know, get back ready because I had a little break off from the how you call it, the Senior Bowl and, you know, all the workout, the pro days. So we had a couple weeks off. I wanted to just get back into it.
That coming here from Tebucky Jones. Tebucky Jones joining us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studio. Syracuse Orange safety, alum, first-round NFL draft pick, and Super Bowl champion with the Patriots back in Super Bowl 36. So looking at your time period at Syracuse and, like you said, everything that you had been through, you said, you know, you came from the projects in Connecticut. So getting to Syracuse, choosing Syracuse, bring me into that. Why Syracuse was the right fit for you at the time. And like you said, growing up in the projects, you had no fear. I would love to have your story kind of painted by you because you could tell it better than anybody. Just what life was like growing up and how that made you into the player that you are and the person that you are, because you said you had no fear. And Tebucky, I don't remember a time on the field where I ever saw you play with fear.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up rough, man. That's a whole nother book in itself. We could be here for like 24 hours just talking. But, you know, coming up, actually, you know what? I was actually about to go to Nebraska. And then what kind of changed my mind was Syracuse was closer. It was closer, and I got intrigued by when they beat Colorado, which was a great team in the Fiesta Bowl. And I think that was 1993. So that kind of swayed me over. And then plus it was a little closer to home. I looked at a great program. And then I started, you know, researching more. I forgot, like Floyd Little, another Connecticut guy.
Yeah.
You know, went there. Ernie Davis. Like that history just pulled me closer.
And you came in, like you said, you know, running back wise. When you look back on that and went to Coach P and said, "Listen, I think I should play on defense. I want to be on the field all the time. There's a lot of rotation going on here." Was it bittersweet, hard for you when you look back on it? How difficult was it to give up playing running back? Was that in your vision as a kid? Like, this is what I'm going to be in the NFL. I'm going to be a running back. How connected were you to the position, and how difficult was it to give up?
You know what? I think it really didn't. It wasn't really a big effect because in high school, I played offense and defense, and then I was the kicker, punter, at one point, kickoff returner, punt returner. I kicked field goals. So I was like, I did everything. So it really didn't matter. My biggest goal was, I remember my mother telling me when I was a kid, and what made me believe it, she said, "Watch, one day my son's going to play in the NFL." And I didn't even know what the NFL was at the time. But I remember saying it all the time. And my goal basically is I'm going to get to the NFL and I'm going to make my mother proud. So it didn't matter what position I played. I just wanted to be full-time out there playing and contributing to the team.
And you said that your mom was the one that had made that statement, "My son's going to play in the NFL someday." And you said, I didn't even...
And NBA. She said I was going to be the first to play both.
And what, I mean, you said back then, you didn't even know what the NFL was. So when your mother said that, do you remember how old you were and just why you think she just had that belief? And I mean, credit to mom. Mom was right, but do you remember how old you were when it happened and what it was that made her just say, you know what, my baby's going to get there. He's going to do it.
I had to be probably 9, 10 years old. I just started playing. And without even her watching, like the first few games she didn't even see. She never seen them. When I played the first few games, she already was saying it anyway. Before she even saw me. Like, oh no, we got a lot of genetics down the line, before me in the family. So, but I remember she always said, yeah, you're going to be the first one to play NFL, NBA. But I found out when I got older that the NBA and NFL kind of collided together seasons.
Yeah.
I couldn't do both because I was actually a real good basketball player too. I was getting recruited all over the country. But saying like when I was in high school and stuff, I didn't watch sports. I just played sports. So a lot of the teams that recruit me, like you look at, I can remember this stuff. Alabama, USC, you see all these letters coming from all these schools, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what they were. It took some of my friends that I played with, they watched like all the time. They kind of like were explaining to me. Oh, this school's out of Cali. This school's, Alabama, places like that. But I got caught when I watched that Syracuse Fiesta Bowl. And my favorite color is like orange, which a lot of people probably didn't know. Orange and black. So the blue was a little off, but it cold went sideways.
Well, thank goodness Syracuse played in that Fiesta Bowl, and you were able to catch that, Tebucky. I know you said it's a whole other story in itself. It's a whole other book, and we could spend all day talking about it. But you keep mentioning, as a kid, I wasn't playing sports. I was watching them. I didn't even know what these schools were. I didn't even know where they were. What was your focus as a kid, and what was going through your head? Because a lot of kids, I mean, obviously now it's a different world and everything, information is coming at you from a billion different angles all the time, constantly. So, you get information when you don't even want the information. But what was going on in your life growing up? And like you said, this difficult life growing up in the projects in Connecticut, that your focus wasn't on sports, wasn't on foot, that you didn't know where these schools were from. Paint me a little bit of a picture, and for those watching and listening around the world, on what your focus was as a kid that took your focus away from sports.
Oh, shit, the big thing, surviving. Surviving. Next meal, when's that next meal coming in? I was worried more about that type. That stuff was more real than sports. Lights being cut off. I'm telling you, I got a book. I had like 3 guys heard a little bit of it, and they're like, dude, that's a movie book. Actually, I think I told you before, Ice Cube was going to do a movie.
Yeah.
Some years ago or whatever. But, I mean, we sit down one day, I got a story. I'll tell you, The Blind Side, that little movie they did, that's nothing. That's like Powder Puff, that movie, compared to what I got.
So do you want to tell it? Is that something that, I know like you said, and it's been out there, that Ice Cube was looking at being a part of, doing this story, doing your story and being a part of it. Here we are in 2022. Do you want to write a book? Do you want to write a movie? Do you want to do a Netflix series? What do you want to do?
Like heavy. It's like people pushing like, dude, I know a lot of people got stories out there. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. But, I mean, again, a lot of guys like, yo, you got a story. Story. So I don't know. I've been approached. Actually, I was at my lounge like a couple of months ago. I was talking to this guy. He was talking about Coach Carter, the movie, and all of that.
Yeah.
And he was talking. I said, "Yeah, I'll give you a better story than that." So I started telling him a little bit, and he was like, he said, "What's those series they do now?" He said, "Man, that's like, them Netflix series, like the series."
Yeah.
And you should do something. He's like, and coming, sitting there having a great conversation. I didn't know the guy was actually visiting his son at Wesleyan College in Connecticut, and he's a writer, and his wife is a producer. So I kind of cut the story down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, I don't think you've known this, and obviously not in the world of a lot of these other people, but, I've acted on stage. I've acted on screen as an extra in one of the Spider-Man movies, and screenwriting is a big part of what I do. And so I know, the Ice Cubes and the Spielbergs and all that stuff out there are big and whatnot, but, you and I can talk definitely over the airwaves and not over the airwaves, but there's a lot of vision and mission and things that I'm looking to do as well. So if there's a way that I can help to tell this story, I would definitely like to sit down with you and see what we can do to do this the right way, to do it correctly. Like I said, I'm no big shot in Hollywood, but I know what the hell I'm doing, and I would definitely look at.
Sometimes it's better not to have a big shot.
Yeah, well, and the thing is too is that the story's not going to get stolen and taken and put here, there, and everywhere because you represent my city, and I think my track record of 19 years of being a broadcaster, people can look back and see that the reputation that preceded me is the correct one. So it would be my honor to hear it and to see what we could do with it, Tebucky, because I definitely feel like that story that you have needs to be told. Why not? I think I remember. I mean, my grandmother, closest person to me, and any dream that I ever had, that was her nature. It's like, well, Grandma, can I do it? And she goes, why can't you? So I think in your case, Tebucky, why not tell the story? Because if I've learned anything about my personal life and where my comedy comes from, is that through great pain becomes great lessons. Those lessons turn into blessings, and it's what you do with your pain that can either be fruitful in your life or it can kill you. And I think if you tell your story the way you want to tell it, you can take everything that happened to you and you can turn it into something that is fruitful in your life, beneficial, and a story that can help somebody out there that's thinking right now in this exact moment that they can't get through what they're going through.
Yeah. We're going to have to talk.
Yes, we will.
I got a story.
Well, and you mentioned Mom a bunch of times here, and I come from a fantastic mother, fantastic grandmother, her mother. So shout out to my mom Debbie and to my G mama. I know how important a mom is in taking the good, the bad, and the ugly and turning it into something beautiful. What do you want to say about your mom and what your mom has meant to you?
Well, my mom is everything. She raised us by herself, and rest in peace. She just passed away this July.
Sorry.
But she was the backbone and everything. She was the backbone. She kept it 100, good or bad. That's my mom in a nutshell.
What's the greatest lesson she ever taught you?
The greatest lesson? Remember when I was younger, basically she told me to never take no shit. Always respect my elders. Never take no I'm swearing. Never take no crap from anyone. And when you want to, when you have a goal, don't ever let nobody, deteriorate you from reaching that goal.
It sounds like you have.
I had people, he gonna be arrested, he gonna be locked up, but I always remember what my mother said.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it didn't work. She put that strong mindset in us. It's not just me, my brothers and stuff too.
So mom having that and giving that to you, and that faith that mom has in you, how does that ring today? In your daily life, do you find yourself reflecting when there's a tough moment, or you're going through something, or you can't focus? Do you still hear mom today?
You said what? Do I still hear her?
Yeah, do you still hear those words kind of ring true when you need it?
She passed away July, man. I was just trying to figure out, and I just want this, pray to God, and I just want to see her,
Yeah.
Funny, the other day, but it's she came vividly in a dream, but my wife gets her all the time. I'm her son, but you keep having these dreams about her. And all she tell me is she's real happy, and that's it. That's all I can ask for.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because when my dad's father passed away, my grandpa passed away, he would never go to my dad, but he would always come to my mom in dreams. And dreams that are so vivid that I remember them, and I didn't have them, but I remember my mom telling me exactly what happened, and she said the same thing. So I'm laughing here in the studio when you said that, where it's like, I'm your son, why are you going to my wife? But that's exactly what happened. My dad's like, I never dream about my father, and my mom was dreaming about him all the time.
Yeah, crazy.
So you have that spirit, you have that connection, you have that love. And speaking of love, it's been a long time. You fell in love with Syracuse. You played here at Syracuse. You hadn't been back. You and I saw each other now. You had been on the show before, and we've been able to talk before, but we had never met face-to-face. And I was talking with Nate Trout and Robert Drummond, and Rob and Nate were like, oh, yeah, come over to the box. So at halftime, I made my way over, came in, didn't know who was going to be in there, and just was kind of shaking hands and seeing how everybody was doing, seeing a bunch of guys I know, seeing people I hadn't met yet, and here sits in the corner Tebucky Jones, and I said, I was like, hey, we haven't met in person, but you got to be on the show, good to finally meet you in person, and you sat there and you told me something that made me want to fall on the floor and roll down the hill of the Dome, and that is the fact that you had never been back for a game since 1998 when you got drafted. You hadn't been back to Syracuse for a game. I don't understand that, because it's more than 2 decades. And, I mean, it plays, unfortunately, perfectly into the Syracuse University's disconnect from their football alumni, because how the heck does Tebucky Jones not come back? How do they not call you and say, we're going to honor you, or we want you to speak at halftime, or we want you to talk to the players? So, 1, why did you come back for the Florida State game? And 2, why has it been so long?
Well, I went back. I went to the UConn game.
The away game, yeah.
I went to the UConn game, and actually one of the guys, he's on the staff now that I played with, Dion.
Yeah.
So he was talking about, yeah, come up to one of the guys and say, you know what? I haven't been back since I left. He was like, what? I said, yeah, man, every time I tried, something always come up. So then I was down in Florida, living in Florida, back up here. I said, it was always something. Then I started coaching, in high school. So the games are Saturday. So we had Friday games, Saturday. It was all kind of mixed in. So he was like, nah, you got to come up there, dude. So I'm like, all right, which game? Florida State. I said, I'll come to Florida State game. So he kind of talked me into it. I called a couple other buddies, see if they were going to go up there. Actually, a few of them was there. But my man, I was trying to get Antoine Pons, Dana Cottrell to come up with me.
Those are my guys.
Yeah, schedule was a little busy. The schedule was a little busy. But, hey, I came up, and it's funny because when I drove up, a couple of my friends, and the closer I got to Syracuse, I felt like a little kid again, like young, like 18, 19, just when I first, came up there. So it was great. I mean, a lot of stuff looked different.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, even inside the dome. But it was crazy, like just being in the walking through the concession stands and the stuff like that, because I'd never done that stuff before. I'm so used to being on the field or coming out the tunnel or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a great experience.
Yeah, you said you felt like a kid again. Did you flash back to getting recruited and coming into the city for the first time? Like, as you were driving in, did you kind of see yourself as that 18-year-old and remember some of those moments? Did you have that kind of like parallel living in two different times when you came back?
Yeah, well, mostly it was Delane and Jason Walters, those guys. They were just bringing back old memories. Like some of the stuff I couldn't even remember. But they were bringing it back. And one thing I remember that when I was looking at one of the end zones, I can remember when I got that pick for like 98 yards against Tulane, and yeah, they were undefeated. And it got our season started. And then we ended up going to the Fiesta Bowl at the end of the year that year.
Well, and you just bookended this thing. You said that, back in the day, you're growing up, you're just trying to survive, trying to keep the lights on, trying to live, not paying attention to football, and you caught Syracuse in the Fiesta Bowl. Then you got to play on Syracuse's team in the Fiesta Bowl. How surreal, strange, incredible. Was that like the moment that you realized, oh my gosh, I'm living my dreams, from being a kid watching them in the Fiesta Bowl to being a young man playing on the team in the Fiesta Bowl? I mean, to me, we talk about writing a movie about your life. That's a scene in the movie right there.
Yeah, you know what? One of my buddies brought that up last night. Like, you went there, you watched them play in the Fiesta Bowl, and you ended off in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
And I said, it's crazy. My son, he played in the Fiesta Bowl. So it must be a thing with the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, apparently the Fiesta Bowl owes you guys something, at least some gear, backpack, a little picture with your face.
Some tortillos.
And you said your son and he played in the Fiesta Bowl as well. I know with you, obviously, Tebucky, family is important, and being a father is important. And I know Tebucky Jones Jr. is off at Fordham right now. So what can you say about, being a dad and watching that lineage turn into someone else playing the sport that is in your bloodline? Because that's pretty incredible and pretty special. And then back end of this question, why is Tebucky Jones Jr. not at Syracuse?
Oh, the funny thing? So, look at this. So, I was like helping out the coach that coached my son, right?
Yeah.
In high school. And the head coach, and I want him to hear this. So they sent Dan Conley to scout, right?
Yeah.
So he goes down, he's looking at this kid on the team. And then the head coach was like, he was looking at a receiver. My son was a receiver.
Yeah.
So he goes, and they're looking at a kid. And Paul Morrell was the coach. He said, "You sure you're not looking at Tebucky Jr.? He's the best receiver. The kid you're looking at is like third or fourth receiver on the squad."
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, we're looking at that guy. And then, I wasn't there yet, so I came after, and I'm like, oh, for real? He's like, yeah, the best receiver on the team. Well, shit, he probably the best athlete on the team. He was like, was my son, but he was looking at the fourth string receiver.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I forgot who was coaching at the time. But I guess they didn't know talent.
Yeah. I mean, you go back and you look at it here. I mean, if you're talking about Tebucky Jones Jr., your son played at UConn, back 2010 period, and then went off to Fordham. So, looking at the multiple seasons at UConn, that would have been Doug Marrone, and then back half, would be Scott Schaefer. So, pretty insane. But Marvin Harrison Jr., he's at Ohio State. There's a lot of guys that whose kids. Kevin Johnson Jr., his son came to Syracuse as a walk-on, was not given a scholarship, and then transferred to the University of Florida. So, looking at just that, and I know there's more names, and I know there's more guys, but your son, Kevin Johnson's son, Marvin Harrison's son, we're looking at some of the great, and this is my thing with Syracuse and with any coach, is you have 85 scholarships. You can't sit here and tell me that you can't find a place for, a legacy to be a part of it. And I know you're his dad, but what is it about Tebucky Jones Jr., his game, that you thought was overlooked? I know you said, hey, best receiver on the team, arguably best athlete on the team.
Well, he was that best athlete. He probably, I can tell you that for a fact, but, I didn't see him. It was the head coach told me.
Yeah.
Which we actually played with each other. And then when he left, like the head coach, he started laughing. He like, this dude, is he serious? The kid he was looking at compared to my son. Look, my son was, he was a year younger than everybody. But you got a kid what showed, and this is why, like, UCLA got interested. They came to a basketball game, and he's probably like 6 feet. And when you got a 6-footer, and you got a kid that's 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", trying to take a charge, and you jump over him and dunk it without touching him, right? That tells you what kind of athlete the person is. And he's done it on numerous cases. He's dunked on, like, kids 6'7", 6'6", like, throughout. And he graduated at, he turned 16, graduated. But when you see kids doing that type of stuff, because a lot of football coaches, they want to see them playing other sports, especially basketball, because now you can get to see which way they move and all that. He was probably more. Well, you know what? He had the same basketball coach as I had in high school, and my basketball coach said he's more explosive than you when you were in high school, and I was super explosive.
And I feel like stories like that.
Right there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I feel like stories like, you know what I mean? Even if you just bring them on campus and ultimately it doesn't work out, but I don't see. When Marvin Harrison Jr. when he's coming out of high school, I said there's no way he's coming to Syracuse. There's no way, because they're not. It's just not. I already know what they're not going to do, so it's not going to happen. And to me, I'm not saying that every son is as good as the father and this, that, and whatever. But when you look at that legacy and you look at that connection, the least you can do is give an opportunity. Walter Payton's son had an opportunity collegiately, had an opportunity professionally. And you look at the lineage, you look at the genetics, you look at the hard work, dedication, and determination that go into it. And like you said, you weren't the one saying it. The coach was sitting there going, "Your son got overlooked for the fourth string guy. I think this is hilarious." So in all honesty, there's been a lot of boats missed, and you haven't been back to Syracuse in over 2 decades. What can Syracuse do that they're not doing right now that can connect them to their alumni? What should they do? What can they do? Because you have a right to say that.
What should they do to what?
What should they do with their alumni to rebuild, patch up, build for the first time that bridge. I mean, the bridge seems like it has been blown up to smithereens in the minds of a lot of Syracuse football alumni over these last few coaches. Not Coach Mack, not Coach P, but after that. What should Syracuse do to make someone like yourself and your former teammates feel welcome again?
Well, shit, the first thing is they probably got all our emails, invite us to the games and stuff like that. Have alumni. I don't know if they have alumni weekend? They probably do.
They do. Yeah.
See, I never knew, but
you don't hear a lot about it, but they do.
Yeah, I didn't know nothing about it. I heard when I came up Saturday, it was like, yeah, there's alumni weekend. So first thing is they got to go out and reach out and get all the other guys' emails and I mean, shoot, it goes farther than that. Now you got to get on social media.
Yeah.
Like what's the Instagram and all that type of stuff. Because most of the players are, a lot of guys, they're all on that stuff. So you make a fan page or something. Not players. The football program has to do it. Send that stuff out. If you recruit, if you had guys that played there, eventually, like you said, not all the time, the kids, but you got to follow. They got kids, and most likely that kid's probably going to be a Division I scholarship. Not all the time, but majority of the time. Because I see it all the time. You look now, you just think of Ed McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I played against him. Look at his son.
Yeah.
So eventually, you just got to keep, basically, you got to always keep in touch with the players. Always invite them, make them feel welcome back. Like it took my guy Dion, who's working there, to get me, really to come back. Besides that, no one really like that worked there never really reached out. I get more stuff from my college, education, child development.
Yeah.
Than from the football program. So that's telling you right there.
Yeah. In Tebucky, not only to reach out to you and just connect with you, but how much would it mean to you to speak to this program? If Dino Babers called you up today and said, Tebucky, we've lost 4 in a row. We're struggling to score coming out of halftime. Really quiet third quarter. The energy's down. I need to get these guys up. Yeah, we're going to a bowl game, but, there's something missing here. If he called you up right now, humbled himself, and said, I would like you to speak to my team, would you go?
Yeah, I'll speak to him. I'm an Orangeman for life. I'm an Orangeman. Me and my wife go at it. She went to BC.
You're going to have an interesting week in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm going up there. They better be ready. And you know what? It's funny, guys. I told them, this is the most games I've probably seen in a year.
Yeah.
Like in person. In person, yeah. Usually, even when on TV, I always watch it. But this is like more like going to the game.
So do you feel like at this point, Dino should make... you're going to the BC game. They're going to be playing on the field. You're going to be there. Is this... this is a disconnect. Do you feel like, you should be able to get to that game early and walk over there and say, hey, Dino, can I stand on the field? I'm not going to bother anybody, or can, I just...
The last two games, I was on the field.
Okay.
I was on the field, UConn. I saw him at UConn game and Syracuse game. I was on the field, then I went up. I had, guys I haven't seen in a long time. Went to go see him. But it ain't more, it's, Me, I'm that dude. Like once they go, I'm not getting away. The kids got to get out and get focused.
Yeah.
Be ready to play. I don't want to be a distraction either. They got to be ready.
Yeah. But there is,
Whatever you take to get ready. I'll tell you what I used to do. I used to go to sleep. Because my adrenaline was so high, I didn't want it to be wasted by the time of the game. So I used to go to sleep before the game.
Yeah.
And then I just come out electrified. Ready all the time. So, like, I was watching the kids. Like, it wasn't like they were all the way in it. You know, like the energy wasn't there. So, you know, they got to dig deep. Look, everybody controls their energy different ways. So they all got to just figure that way out. Come back, get back on track. Who they got? Wake Forest?
Yep.
It's a winnable game. They got to believe it, though.
What's your advice to the guys right now?
For the football team?
Yeah.
Look, it's 4 in a row. They lost 4 in a row. That stuff is in the past. It's like when a DB get beat. You can't be a great DB, get beat, and look down. You got to, get past that play. So those games are gone. You got to get back to the drawing board. But me, come with that hunger, more emotion. I really didn't see it. Like I watched the UConn game. Them dudes, I watched the emotion. They were pumped up, amped up. Guys, when they're coming off the sideline, cheering, high fives. I watched all that stuff. This game got down, it was 14-3. I didn't see none of that. I didn't see. So your energy level has to stay the same every game. That's how you win games. You got to keep that energy.
That coming here from Tebucky Jones, Syracuse Orange safety alum, first-round NFL draft pick, and Super Bowl champion. Tebucky, as always, it is my pleasure and my honor to be able to spend some time with you. Great to finally get to meet you and stay. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not saying this because you're on the air. I would say this at any time, and I said this plenty of times. I said it when I got back to the press box, and I sat down next to a couple of my guys there. I said, listen, Tebucky Jones right now, in this moment, is built to play football. So I think Syracuse should make a phone call and listen, if all these schools can figure out ways to weasel in guys and get them eligible and all that garbage, we could find a way to get Tebucky Jones to get another season of eligibility to get out there. All I want is for you to be there for Wake Forest, BC in the bowl game, because they wouldn't know what hit them. And I'm going to tell you right now, standing next to you, I was like, you know what? I respect Tebucky. Absolutely. I'm always going to keep him on my good side because I need that little grenade to be there. God bless you, man. Looking good, feeling good, and we miss the hard hits that you used to lay down. And I'm not saying there's not some great defensive players on the team right now, but we got to find a way to get you on the field, Tebucky. I think we need to work on that.
Hey, they'll be all right. They're gonna come back. They're gonna come this week ready. Got that faith in them. They're going to figure it out.
That coming from Tebucky Jones. Tebucky, you know that we'll be talking off the air as we discussed, and I look forward to it. But as always, thank you for your time, thank you for your energy, and thank you for choosing Syracuse and for taking care of my city. I really appreciate that.
All right. No doubt.
I'll talk with you soon.
All right, later.
Take care. That coming from Tebucky Jones here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Never in a million years did I think, and listen, I believe in myself and I believe in everything that I do, so I'm not saying this, but never in a million years did I think, I would be able to say the words you just heard from Tebucky Jones on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. But you did. And I did. Because God is great. And there are plenty of dreams to be had, folks, and the desire to get after them. You got to want it. You got to want it, and you got to do it. I live my dreams every single day. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, like sinuses these last couple months, and I wake up every day feeling like, why do I feel like this? but nothing will stop me. You have to have that desire. Tebucky had that desire. I have that desire. I pray you do. If you don't, I pray you find it, get it, you hone it, and you use it. Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do it. And if they do, that's fine. Because you're going to do it anyways. God bless you. God loves you. We'll be back after this fast break with plenty more wake-up call. And let this morning be an example to you that you can do anything. You can accomplish anything. Know that. Because it's true. But you have to believe it. This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you fall 2022. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacted the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life. That's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. You also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse in their drive-thru location, and you will also find them on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on cafekubal.com for those of you that are out of town, so make sure you head off there today and support us as well. The ingredients to success here for you today on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Always appreciate bringing you the ingredients, having the opportunity where sports meets life to talk on a new topic and the ingredients to success. So, my topic for today is positive spirit. Positive spirit, right? That's my topic for today. Keeping a positive spirit. Because we need it, right? We all go through stuff. If you're a coach, you're a player, you know what it's like to win, you know what it's like to lose. If you're a person in society in general, you know what it's like to win and you know what it's like to lose. We all go through stuff. We all have things happen. Life is not perfect. Life sometimes is very difficult. Life is not fair. It's really not. Very rarely is life fair. Right? And people say to me, Dan, why do bad things happen to good people? And I say back to you, bad things happen to everybody. It's just when they happen to good people, we notice them more because it's a good person and we feel bad for them. Because when bad things happen to bad people, and when I say bad people, what I mean by that is when bad things happen to people who do bad things, people go, well, they deserved it. Right? They deserved it. That's why it's accentuated when bad things happen to good people. Because they don't deserve it, right? They don't deserve it. Most people don't believe that good people that do good things deserve to be punished. But sometimes bad things happen to good people. So how do we keep a positive attitude, right? How do we keep our spirits up? That's the topic for today's ingredients to success. How do we keep our spirit up? Well, we have to know first and foremost that our spirit does not come from other people. In today's society, we look for things to take the place of God. That's the funny part to me. People don't want to believe in God, but they want to make something their God. So they don't want to believe in the God that actually exists, but they want to create a God that doesn't exist and bring it into existence. Instead of believing in the God that's here, they want to believe in the God that they're creating because they have to believe that there's something here that's looking out for them, even though they don't respect the actual something that is looking out for them. God does exist. How do you know, Dan? Well, I got a lot of stories. I got a lot of things that have happened to me in my life that can prove that God exists. Dan, well, you got a lot of things that happened in your life that weren't positive. So how does that show that God exists? Because how do you think I got through those things? How do you think I elevated myself past those problems? Not by myself. God was there. So how do you stay positive in an ever-changing, interdependent, crazy world? Being positive in an interdependent world. Well, to me, you wake up every morning and you thank God for your life. To me, you take the time to appreciate the moments that you have. You say, I love you. You say it often. You say it loud. And you say it with pride. How do you stay positive in an interdependent and ever-changing world? By realizing not everybody is your friend. Not everybody wants the best for you. Not everybody that you are good to is going to be good to you. Stop expecting, my parents told me this my whole life, they still do, and I still struggle with it. Stop expecting people to be like you. It's one of the biggest problems I have in my life. I expect people to act the way that I act, right? To have the responsibility that I have, to have the love that I have, to have the work ethic that I have. I expect people to match me pound for pound in their energy, in their positivity, in their hard work, in their dedication, in their determination, in keeping their word. I expect people to do what I would do. And I would keep my word. I want to show up on time. I want to listen. I want to care. I want to put you first. So I expect other people to do what I do. But that's not today's world. It wasn't yesterday's world. People don't do what you want them to do. People do what they want to do. Right? People do what they want to do. Ask yourself, you want somebody to control you? No. You want somebody to tell you to do what you got to do? No. People have to want to do it. You could do everything in your power to try and change this world for the better, for the better. The reality is, if people don't want to change, they're not going to change. Well, Dan, this is a harsh, bleak reality. I thought this was a positive segment. It is a positive segment. It's you realizing that you have to stay positive when people let you down. People will let you down. They will lie to you. They will steal from you. They will cheat on you. People will waste their time, will waste your time. If you let them. People will waste your time. What have I learned in 37 years? I've learned to give shorter leashes and less chances. That's what I've learned. Do people deserve a second chance? Yeah. Some people. It depends on what you do. I've given chances to people that I shouldn't have given chances to. And that's what we say a lot, right? I gave chances to people that don't deserve chances. Well, is that true, though? Because what you did is you gave somebody an opportunity that maybe other people wouldn't have given them. You gave them a chance to do the right thing when other people expected them to do the wrong thing. Maybe nobody else has ever given them a second chance. You did something good. They wasted the chance, not you. Don't be mad at yourself for giving somebody a second chance. They should be mad at themselves for wasting it. They should be mad at themselves for wasting the first opportunity to even have to ask for the second chance. But we're not perfect and we make mistakes. And at some point in your life, no matter how good of a person you are, you're going to mess up and you're going to want a second chance. So I can't tell you that second chances aren't things that should happen. But second chances are not always taken in a positive way. Not everybody uses their second chance. Some people waste it, right? Some people grab the kiss that you sent them in the air, they put it on their cheek. Some people put it in their pocket for later. Some people set it down. It's reality. I'm coming here today as a 37-year-old telling you that I have loved in relationships and I wasn't loved back. Friendships, romantic relationships, family. No matter how much I want people in my life to be a certain way, they're not. So I can either focus on the people that do come through and are there for me, or I can focus on the people that aren't and trying to make them do it. There are people in my life that will never be the people that I want them to be. They'll never be the person in my life that I need. And I can drive myself nuts over it, or I can say, you know what? It's not what I'm going to get, and I need better. So I'm going to search for better, and I'm going to do better, and I'm going to be better. You don't need people to make your life what it is. You don't need people to tell you that you're great and tell you that you're wonderful and want to date you and want to hire you and want to this and want to that. You have to know the central message of Wake Up Call has always been it comes from inside. It's a central message of my life that I've had to learn in 37 years. It comes from inside. Yeah, I want to have a great relationship and I want to have a wonderful woman by my side. I see my friends with fantastic women and men that they've married, and I'm so proud of them and so happy for them, and I want to have that spouse. I want to have that woman I can lean on and she can lean on me. I love her as much as she loves me. We do for each other. We help each other out. We work together. We're attracted to each other. We laugh together. I want all of that. But you can't force water to come out of an empty bottle. Can't. And in friendship, it's the same thing. Just because you're a good friend doesn't mean your friend's a good friend. And I think we struggle with that, right? We're always wondering why. And we're always expecting after somebody does something really bad to us that they're going to understand that it was bad and fix it. If they did it in the first place, they probably don't have the same morals and values that you have. If they were willing to hurt you already, you know, when you're like, oh, well, this person cheated on me, but they should know how to treat me now that they did it. They should know what to do and how to apologize and the steps to take. If they cheated on you, they don't know how to treat you. They don't know the steps to take because they don't care. Rob Drummond, one of my best friends in the history of the world, put out a post. He said, the first time somebody does something, it's a mistake. The second time, it's a pattern. The third time, it is who they are. We all make mistakes. Some of us get into a bad pattern. But once we have decided that that is who we are, we need to either change it or we stay who we are. You can't say that something's a mistake if you do it over and over and over again. It is not a mistake. It's a habit. Habits become your life. It takes 3 weeks to create or destroy a habit. Once that habit is created, you can destroy it overnight or you can keep it forever. But once you have created something, it is who you are. So how do we stay positive and keep our spirits up in an ever-changing, interdependent world? We stop thinking that everybody is going to think like us, act like us, be like us, and have the morals that we have and the faith that we have. We need to start realizing we are who we are. We've chosen to be who we are. Where we are wrong, we need to fix it. Where we are right, we need to hang tough. And we need to not let the world tell us who we are. We need to tell the world who we are. And if you don't tell the world who you are, the world will tell you every day. If you don't know who you are, somebody else will tell you who you are, and you do not want that to happen. So, my advice for you to stay positive, keep your spirits up, love yourself, thank God every morning you wake up, thank God throughout the day, have a dial, whether you know God or not, whether you believe in God right now or not, do me a favor and just have an open dialogue with God. Pray, speak, take a walk and talk, have a conversation with God, be thankful for your life, thank God for your life when you wake up, be a good person. Well, how do I know what you know what it is? Be a good person, okay? You would be amazed if you're having a horrible day and all these things are going on and your mind is working against you. If that's how you feel today, I want you to go somewhere. I want you to let somebody in your lane. I want you to open the door for somebody. I want you to say please. I want you to say thank you. I want you to text a friend. I want you to call your mom or dad. And you would be amazed in those little actions you take today that your mindset will change. You might still be upset. You might still be depressed. You might still be down. But you would be amazed at holding the door open for a total stranger, what that could do for your day today. You could be holding the door open for your wife, your husband, your best friend. Or you could be holding the door open for a total stranger who hasn't had a door held open for them in the last 167 times they walked into a building. And you might make their day. So your effect might not be on your day as much as it's on their day. But that's still something good. Because we live in an interdependent and ever-changing world. And the nicer you are to other people, you will be amazed at how that will change your life for the better. Sometimes you should be giving exactly what you need. With that being said, these are the ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful people at Avicolli's. They are open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. Drink responsibly and head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. We appreciate you so very much. And thank you for all you do to support local in our community on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road at Avicolli's, right down the road, walking distance from Liverpool High School, and the home of our Liverpool Warriors exclusive sit-down broadcast every single month. And you can always call them for takeout, delivery, and catering right there on 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100 for Avicolli's. With that being said, I want to thank you for tuning in every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all / WakeUpCallDT, WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage, and which you should bookmark and save, WakeUpCallDT.com, and subscribe for free, and of course on Facebook.com / LiveNowDT. Once the shows go live, they jump into the archives. Check them out on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, TuneIn, Podbean, Podvine, Player FM, Spotify, and Stitcher. All you got to do is look up Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So with that being said, thanks to our incredible partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, PB&J's Lunchbox, Avicolli's, Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Honda City of Liverpool, Chick-fil-A Watertown, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Mother's Cupboard, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Pizza Man, and Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins and Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. Check out all of our content with the Dolphins by going to the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. And for Bryan and Stratton, go to the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com. You can also subscribe to wakeupcalldt.com and to our YouTube channel, youtube.com / wakeupcalldt, for all of our content with both schools. And we are proud to announce for the first time ever that 317 at Montgomery Street is our newest and proud partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. 317 at Montgomery is so easy to promote because the name of their company, the name of their restaurant, is the name of their location. Go to 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. We're going to be doing something there every single month in a video series called Downtown with Dan. And we will be joined by Joel Carpenter, their owner, and maybe some special guests throughout the year. 317 at Montgomery, the restaurant that you need to make a part of your weekly and monthly decision when it comes to finding the right place for you to go on a date, to take the family. We just went there with the Cruz family, shut down the restaurant, and had a great time. 317 at Montgomery, nestled right there in downtown Syracuse with fantastic food that reminds me of the food that I had, the caliber of food that I had at Walt Disney World. They are a hidden gem that we're not hiding anymore. We are putting a spotlight on 317 at Montgomery Street. We can't wait for you to come see them on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Closed Sunday and Monday, open Tuesday through Saturday. Make sure you head and check out 317 at Montgomery in Syracuse, New York. Please let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, I want to thank Levell Sanders, Pat Davis, as well as Tebucky Jones for joining me today. I want to thank Avicolli's for the ingredients to success, and I cannot thank the messages from these gentlemen enough. Go back and watch these shows and listen to them, because there's a lot here to love. With that being said, head out to Witty Wicks today. Speaking of their candles, they have their spin on the Advent candle, and it's called the 12 Wicks of Winter. There's only a few left. You got to go out and get them today. 190 Township Boulevard in Camillus, New York. From the Cafe Cabal Studios, find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. As always, God bless, no stress, do your best. If you're heading to the Dome tonight, come say hi.